Hello, everyone. This is Alex Trimble from the Executive Pill, and today's a good day. So today I have a great friend with me, Miss Katie Watford, and she is a celebrity stylist and style expert who has styled for some of Hollywood's most prestigious and, completely honestly, awesome events, such as the Academy Awards, the Golden Globes, Conan O'Brien show, the Today Show, Comic-Con, yes, BET Awards, and so many more. Her celebrity clients have been featured in the best dressed lists in global publications such as In Style magazine, Glamour, Daily Mail, and 17 magazine, amongst others. I had the great honor to work with her on a project recently, and I immediately knew I needed to have her on this show to share her thoughts and ideas. So with no further ado, how you doing, Katie?
Hi, Alex. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, look, thank you for coming.
I was very excited when you asked.
Look, I'm gonna jump right into this. But everyone, if you're listening to the podcast, thank you. I'm doing pray hands right now. Blessed hashtag. But if you're also watching on the YouTube version, I love your attire. I love your attire. I love your look, your style. And today we're gonna be talking a lot about this. And just to prep our audience, why am I bringing a stylist on here? Actually, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start off with saying this is the leadership podcast. This is the career advancement podcast. Why am I bringing a stylist on here?
You want me to answer that?
Please.
Thank you for actually starting with that question because so many people just don't see that this is such a valuable tool to advance their career for them. And everybody puts this at the bottom of their list. They're like, it shouldn't be based on how I look. It should be based off of my skill set or who I am or how long I've been working here. And the truth of the matter is we do get judged when we first walk into a room. And one of the most powerful ways to convey who you are and what you bring to the table is by representing your brand in what you wear. And it just totally, I always say it sends out a silent language into the workplace. And your company, your colleagues, your clients, your coworkers, they pick up on that when you walk in and you've taken care of yourself, when you've really put yourself together at home. And they may say something about it, they may not, but they recognize it. And it's because it is a silent language. And it's not so much at a superficial level as maybe some like to think, but it's something that I just took care of me and I'm here to take care of you and I'm here to get the job done. And people tremendously appreciate that when they see someone who's really gone out of their way to bring their best self to the workplace.
Katie, I will admit to everyone, I was, I had to be, I was not early adopter of this mindset, right? And so everyone, recently, my PR strategist was like, "Hey, Alex, we got to get you some new images and to help you again continue to grow your business." I work with a lot of executive leaders, and so we're going to do this this photo shoot. And she was like, "You need to talk to Katie." I'm like, "But what should I wear?" No, don't know, Alex. Just talk to Katie. And I'm like, "I don't want to do this. Like, this is not important. Like, why can't I just wear a nice blazer and call it a day?" But Katie, I mean, honestly, when I started speaking to you, I assumed this was that almost superficial thing. I'm not the guy who's like super up on quote unquote trends and whatnot, but just the process of what you asked me, like, what was I interested in? What are my goals? Who do I want to look like? Who do I look, can you explain what made you think through that process versus just looking on In Vogue and saying, "Hey, look, wear a Gucci belt and call it a day"?
Alex, I've always believed, I've never understood the rules or looking at it from a superficial level. I've always believed since the first day I became a stylist. Actually, let me back up. I didn't understand any of that world. It intimidated me. I now do know it because I've worked in it, but I could only wrap my head around one thing, that you are a person and you have a personality. So let's develop that. And because of that, I've just created my whole method behind your personal brand. Your personal style has to reflect your identity. And your identity, who you are, what you like, what you're about, what your story is, can all be infused into what you wear. And that has just been something that I've found so many people appreciate, because it takes the dauntingness or the superficialness, as we're saying, away from it. And it allows us to really get collaborative. It allows you to really start to do some soul searching, if you will, to understand how to really dive into this, instead of just it being like, you need to wear this just because this looks expensive and this is just gonna, that isn't going to get you career advancement. What gets you career advancement is bringing the best you to the table each and every day, and bringing the best version of you through what you wear is an ultimate tool that not only, like I said, does all the communication in the workplace, but it also does it to yourself, for yourself.
Mm. Mm. Okay. Yeah, no, you got me. I like that communication word. I'm the guy who says communication is generally the problem, communication or lack thereof communication.
Mm.
So we communicate. Everyone listening to this, you probably know this. We communicate via our words. Absolutely. We communicate via our nonverbals, right? Our facial expressions and how we navigate and move in the world and behave. Yes, absolutely. As you were talking, you reminded me that we are also communicating with our attire, right? I still remember early on in my career that I was talking to someone and they were like, well, Alex, you need to look the part. You work around executives, you need to look the part. And I was like, well, why? Um, but what they pointed out, and I now do consistently, is that the reality is that we all have a choice. We all have a decision to make on how we dress, how we speak, so on and so forth. And if you do decide to quote unquote not dress the part, you have to realize that you are making a conscious decision to add one more hurdle to making it easier for people to hear you when you do speak. Is that what are your reactions to that?
Amen. You couldn't have said it better better than myself, excuse me. You're not setting yourself up to win, to, if you're like, it shouldn't be about that. But we do communicate non-verbally. We communicate through our body language. We communicate through our tonality of like our voice. And what affects both of those things is the clothes you put on your body. And so if you are wearing casual clothing that doesn't, and you're not feeling confident about it, it affects how you speak. It affects how confident you might be able to speak or not speak. It's also going to make you just be a little bit more like, versus, I guess maybe the people who are listening podcasts couldn't see what I just did, but you might be more not as postured or polished in how you sit in a meeting. It might be more poised, and that may be what you need to be. It communicates to yourself, let alone also to the other person, which is why this is such a powerful tool, and people just like don't really consider it that much. And my philosophy and method is all like, let's focus this on your identity, because then you feel like the best version of you, not like you're dressing up in a costume, not like you're dressing up to play the quote unquote part. You're wearing clothes for the appropriate attire, but you're still looking like you. And that is golden. That is what's going to set you apart from everybody else. If you're interviewing for a new position, if you are potentially maybe going to get promoted, you just never know what that impression leaves on people and what doors that can open up. Now you got to be able to do your job, right? Like you got to be able to do other things. It's just like the only thing, but it's such a piece that people just don't consider on how valuable, and it's like wide open. Like people just are missing. It's like easy opportunity to go do that.
Well, look, okay, look, we started off with the easy stuff. Okay, now we're gonna get into the hard stuff.
Oh no.
Now we're gonna create some camps. Okay, people with you and people with against you. Okay,
Okay. Let's
okay.
do it.
So, so here's the question: is this all stupid? I say it to say we've been in the pandemic for so many years now, 2 years now. Many people are saying, why do I need to dress up? I did my job the way I could have done it in sweatpants. I'm wearing more casual nowadays. People are more casual. I- Is there, it may be that generational gap, right? Like, would you advise someone who is, let's say, younger in their career or not, they just want to, they just don't understand why you should be doing this? I think, sorry, I'm going everywhere, but the
Okay.
question is does it make sense? Should we be looking to dress up and play those parts and look like that, or should we all just say, you know what, let's blow up the system? We don't need to be dressing up at work because it didn't help us. What should we be doing here?
Um, Say the exact question again for me. Just the
I
exact.
know I was rambling. The question is should we blow up the system? We've shown that we can do our jobs with without looking nice. But now, organizations are asking us to go back to work. Do we just blow up the system and say, no, we're not going to dress this part? I want to wear sweatpants.
Uh, Asking me directly as a fashion stylist, should we blow up the system of not getting dressed for work? I'm definitely going to say no to that. Right. Because it's what we just discussed on how it communicates to you, not to yourself and to others. Also, what's happened since the pandemic is so many people have called me. Like, my business grew significantly going into 2021 because they're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't sit in sweatpants. I'm tired of doing this. I miss getting dressed.
Ooh.
And so there's an instinctive act that comes from it where people enjoy being able to do this. But do I think we should blow up the system? No, not at all. I think that would actually hurt people's performance at work. I think it would hurt. I don't think there would help. There's not a way to help career advancements because this is such a piece of the puzzle.
You know what's funny is as you're saying that, it reminds me of, oh my God, what's the guy's name? Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins.
Uh-huh.
Yes, Tony Robbins, the guy who, like, really, motivational speaker, big voice, big hands. Everyone knows that. He talks about, many people talk about this, like the importance of the Superman pose, right? You do the Superman pose, we psychologically tend to feel more confident and more powerful. It's just like a power stance. The same thing as sitting in your chair and leaning back and putting your feet on the table. You just tend to have a more confidence comes out of that. So again, I really recognize, want to underscore what you were saying earlier, Katie, with wearing certain attire will give you that confidence to walk into a room and not feel maybe like an imposter or whatever it may be, just simply by your attire.
It changes your physiology, right? Like that's it. This goes into the science of style, how enclothed cognition can actually affect the way that you think. We've kind of danced around a few different areas. I may be talking about it from a creative level about your identity. To back it up with like some scientific data, is clothes actually do affect how you think and how you perform. There was studies done from Northwest University showing that a group of people that they did like I haven't actually, I'm blanking on how it all went down, but like in this whole study, they show that people who wore particular like white doctor lab coats versus the group that didn't scored higher and better because that they thought that these particular pieces that they were wearing made them feel more intelligent and smart. So they performed better. And, an athlete doesn't feel like the athlete until they have the full gear on. A Marine or one of our soldiers or the
Mm.
military, they don't feel ready to go into battle until they have on their uniform. That's why I would totally not promote like let's just kill the system, because you have to have something that snaps you on mentally to get ready to go perform in work. And people understand that's in the entertainment business because they understand I got to get up and I got to go perform in that character. So I need to wear this particular wardrobe that the wardrobe stylist has provided, or a celebrity. But there's a disconnect, like when it comes into just maybe every day or the office, where it's like, I don't need to do it. It does transcend your mind to ready to perform for what you're getting ready to do.
Katie, you are a boss. You're a boss.
Thank you.
I was at lunch with the senior leader yesterday. We were having this, it was brunch actually, or breakfast, lunch, whatever. We were eating, and we were talking about how he was wondering what he should wear to meet with me. And he's like, hey, should I wear a suit? Should I wear this? And then he was like, you know what? I think I know Alex. I think I can show up in a polo shirt and some nice shorts. And then me on my side, I was like, okay, I don't want to overdress. I don't want to underdress. So I ended up wearing some shorts with a button up. And we actually talked about this. But then he's like, yeah, Alex, but I'm meeting with this ridiculously successful executive tomorrow for a possible partnering opportunity. I have no idea what to wear. Like, I don't want to come dressed to the T and that's over. Or I definitely don't want to come in a polo and some shorts. The question is, how do you determine what's appropriate for what interactions?
Well, it is based on each situation. Specifically using that as an example, him going into that meeting, go in dressed to impress. There's nothing wrong with that, to dress with impress. And that, unfortunately, it's kind of gone in our culture, in our society, because people always think it's going to offend somebody if you show up dressed to impress, because our culture and our society is so casual. And that doesn't mean he has to be in a 3-piece business suit with a tie and cufflinks. But there's a difference, as we've been stating the whole time, when someone took care of themselves, got themselves really dressed, and looks just spectacular. It sends out a different message than just someone who doesn't look like they barely kind of rolled out of bed. And yes, they might be groomed, but it's like, is this important for you? Is this an important, that shows when you take pride in yourself to show up. So that particular situation, I would tell him dress to impress. With you guys in your luncheon, to use that as an example, and I've worked with you, so this is why I'm going to say this, Alex. We've worked together. I've shown you like a whole new world that you didn't know existed. And you have now an opportunity to lead by example. And since we are talking about leadership here, that's where you get to, of course, you want to be appropriate. That, again, it doesn't have to be a 3-piece suit, but you have some tools and specifically outfits on how to dress to impress, to leave a lasting impression with your brand and meeting with you, because it creates a different experience for them.
Yeah.
The reason why people love to go spend in high luxury fashion brands is because they get an experience when they walk in. And when you get dressed, you are walking differently, you are talking differently, you're able to create a different experience with yourself and within the workplace and your performance, as I like to say. So for you specifically, Alex, I would say, use those opportunities to represent your brand, of just leaving that extra little spark, but it still helps create a opportunity to communicate with them that can help them on what they're seeking to do in their business.
That was Katie slapping my hand. Okay. That was, you can hear it. She slapped my hand. I got it. Next time.
Does that make sense?
No, I think it 100% makes sense. I think it 100% makes sense. And there's another question to follow up, but I wanted to say, I really do appreciate when we went through our process together. I told you, I like to stand out. I don't like to go in the vein of what everyone else is doing. And this is something that's really important to me. Everyone who's listening to this podcast knows I'm always teaching about finding ways to stand out from the rest of the crowd, because that's how you get the opportunities. And I loved when we went through our process, you found little ways via my attire to make me stand out from the crowd. I appreciate it. I'd like to now ask you a different question.
Okay.
We've talked about style as a whole for quote unquote everyone. I'd love to hear what has been your experience with styling for um, people from different demographics? So male versus female, African American versus whatever. Like, are there differences that you consider when you're working with clients to help them build their brand?
Um, can you expand on that last
So
part? I
the
get it because I've worked with a huge range of demographic of clients, and yeah, continue. Do you have a little bit more?
Oh, absolutely. So the reality is that our society is now turning the corner on certain things, but in the past, you know, black women, if you were wearing maybe uh, locks or braids that seemed not high class, quote unquote, or women in general, if you wore pantsuits, maybe you were seen a particular way. So maybe you would have stayed away from pantsuit because maybe you're more quote unquote masculine or aggressive. Again, our society has turned a corner on some of
Mhm.
these assumptions that come from clothing. But is there a difference that you have to pay attention to when you're looking at maybe someone from the African American community versus someone not? Are those small differences?
You know what? There's small differences with everybody. Everybody has a challenge and a setback in this area. They don't have a lot of education in it. They don't understand it. They have resistance towards it because they don't want to be judged off of how they look because that's superficial. And someone may give me a specific because of the color of her skin, because they are a female. And I have to sit there and listen to that and absorb that to understand emotionally where they're at in this process. So then I can guide them creatively in this process to respect where they're at emotionally and what they have gone through. And then to understand, I get that. And here's what I suggest on how to do to get over that hurdle. And then because the end result is we want you to look like $1,000,000. We want you to look like the best that you can. So I have to, it's like kind of being a therapist in a way with some people that you have to do that. And that's what I love about my job. And that's what I love that I get to do is you have to meet somebody where they're at. At least this is just how I am as a stylist. I don't talk above people and being like, well, you need to know about these trends or this or forget that. It's like if you create a holistic system with them, they can relax, then they can trust you, and then the results end up that much better.
Thank you, Katie. And look, we've been talking a lot about you as a stylist. I would like to change that because you're not just a stylist. You're CEO, right? You are a leader within your organizations. I'd love to talk a little more about that if that's okay today.
Sure, sure. And thank you for saying that's very sweet.
Well, it's also true. The first thing that pops in my mind is I was very impressed with the process of how we work together. You have this really cool online app that helps us, go through this process from a distance. We're not in the same state. My question is how did you think about creating an app and what was I mean, you don't seem like to be a tech genius or something like that. Like, how did you go about creating this technology to further your business?
Well, I can't take credit for that. I outsource that from somebody, but it's just helped. It's helped me be able to work with people remotely because 90% of my business is online. And I have been working with clients virtually, styling them and giving them fashion consulting for the past 4 years. And when I found that particular, to be able to outsource the app, it was done at a user friendly way, which was very, very simple. And it gave me a tool to help really do my job better even with us being 1,000 miles apart. So I didn't come up with the app as the tech person, but it's definitely something that's really helps keep things in just a system. Like everything's about a great system, and having your wardrobe needs to be developed in multiple systems, so that way it's working for you and not against you.
Well, look, I'm going to push back and say you do deserve the credit because yes, as a leader, we you are always going to farm out certain tasks to people to create and do. But as a leader, it still is your idea to make this happen for your organization. And I guess what I'm getting at is I think a lot of people are hesitant to try certain things because they don't believe they have the skills in it themselves to do it. But you were willing to say, "Hey, look, my business, it needs to be done online, so I'm going to have to trust someone. I'm going to have to form out this responsibility, this task to someone." And I just think that that's something that all leaders have to be comfortable in doing. Is understanding they're not going to be the ones who do everything.
Well, thank you for that, for pushing back on that. I appreciate that, Alex. And it does require a great big deal of trust because we're not together in person, and that's why I spend the time. And that's also the way that I work is to develop that trust. Because it's one thing if I were standing there in the room with you and just saying, "Here, try these things on," and then all of a sudden you'd be like, "Oh, she really knows what she's doing." But to get someone to see it from online to the bigger picture to ordering it to trying on, that's something that has to become collaborative at that point. And so that's why I listen to any of those. What we were just discussing a moment ago, those setbacks that they're feeling. Because if you listen to somebody and really make them feel heard and then supported, then that's, I think, in any will really change the outcome. And that would definitely be something in the workplace too, is like really if people don't feel heard. And if they feel heard and they feel listened, they feel appreciated, and then they want to do better. They want to give it their best shot, even more than just feeling dismissed.
I was hoping that you'd pause for a second so I could say, "Hit me with your best shot." I was so tempted. I'm like, please, please let me say this.
You got it. You got it in.
What's it called? The other thing I was so very impressed with is the amount of experience that you have working with the industry as a whole, but also with specific celebrities and working on big shows. Everyone heard me mentioning the Today's Show, the BET Awards. Like, these are massive, massive accomplishments. And so my question is how? How did you develop the relationships required to get you in these spaces? I love to talk about how just important relationship building is
Mhm.
for any to be successful in any industry. So I'd love to just kind of hear just initially, how did you go about building those relationships?
That's a great question, Alex. That's like taking me, I'm thinking back on that era of my life. And I was always clear on what level I wanted to work at, right? So you've got to, I think, be clear on what direction of a relationship you want to start, that I wanted to work at. And I knew I wanted to be a celebrity stylist doing red carpet events. And then from there, always doing that job as if it was my last job, because it could be your last job, but if it's not, then someone's going to refer you. And that's what people care about the most, is that they can work with someone that they trust and is a great referral. So and probably also, as I'm thinking about it, Alex, the way that I operated with you is the exact same way that I operated with them. It's I drowned out all the noise, because there's so much pressure that comes, and specifically with like executives too. But in the entertainment business, there's a lot of pressure that comes on so many different levels. And so you're in an intimate room with somebody, getting them ready for a huge moment where they're going to be photographed. And that doesn't make it necessarily easy for some of them. It still is. Some people like it, some people don't. But just to still make them feel heard and supported, and making them feel the best version of them, so that way they could go out there and do that job, whether they loved being photographed or not, is definitely the same ingredient or element that I did with you, that I did with them. And I believe that has a big piece of it too.
It's funny. Everyone I speak to in this regard about relationship building makes me feel more and more confident in the model that I've created, that 4C relationship building model. The first thing you started off with saying was saying you wanted to you had to be clear on what level you wanted to work at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing I talk about in relationship building is mindset change, understanding that it is not bad. It does not make you bad or self-centered or narcissistic to say, hey, I want to be successful in this particular area.
Right.
And did you ever have any internal strife or internal conflict on
Sabotage?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Alex. Oh yeah. I mean, I have had so much of that most of my career, but somehow, even though I have that internal dialogue, I still line up with a superstar in the making, like you, a superstar that has already been a high level Hollywood executive. I get just as nervous and being like, so many times, and being like, I don't deserve to be here. But when a door opens, like, you're never giving a door open that you're not ready for. And I mean, I did the Academy Awards after only doing one red carpet event, which was the Golden Globes. And I had never done a red carpet event before that. And
Wow.
that was my very first major event. And I had to really check myself, because I was like, it's all going to work out, because I didn't know everything. And it became a huge launching pad for me that just sparked a year and a half of just straight doing red carpet events. So the whole time I was doing that, yeah, I definitely was in it, but you have to take time out to deal with that negative self-talk, because that will keep holding you back later. And if you don't get rid of it, you will always stay that person then and not progress to this next level. And
Wow.
yeah, you're hitting a button here for sure, in a good way.
Hey, look, that's powerful. If you don't mind, I'd love to share. I was recently selected to become an Aspen Institute fellow. So I spent the last weekend. Well, we'll say last, because whenever this is posted, it won't be necessarily that last weekend. But I just got to spend the weekend, 4 days in Aspen, Colorado, with some of the most forward-thinking leaders in this country, and actually external to this country as well. There's people from Turkey, people from Spain, and CEOs and artists. Like, it was just a fantastic time to just learn and grow with these very knowledgeable individuals. And this is me being a little personal right now, but it was a bit hard for me because they refer to me as a successful leader. And I'm like looking at these people who are ambassadors, CEOs of big organizations, and I'm like, well, I'm not there yet. And I started like, do I belong here? And I wasn't sure. But Katie, what you said is so true. You gotta keep moving. And I was telling you, no matter, even again, I want to make this point really clear. Katie, myself, Elon Musk, whatever leader you think of who is super successful, very likely they have some internal voice some point saying, can you do this? But I think what differentiates them between those people who have the potential to be successful and do great things and people who actually do it is even if they have that voice in their head, they continue moving forward. They
Mhm.
continue moving forward. I really appreciate everything you just shared, Katie.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that. It's I've not I one of my goals this year within my social media content is to be more transparent with that, because I've not shared with how much I dealt with holding myself back, even though like I was still getting booked, right?
Yeah.
But mentally, it's like if I didn't have that mentally, who knows what else would have happened. But that's what I always remember, because we all have it. We all have it. We're all people. And that's a big piece of what that I do, is that someone's still viewing themselves as they're not deserving of this, or they don't need this, or they're viewing themselves as someone a little bit like not where they're headed. Because if they're really thinking about where they're headed, then that whole conversation wouldn't even be happening. But that's where, regardless if it's whatever the situation is with that person, I'm always trying to find that, to have that common bond, so then that way it's like, let's rock and roll.
Again, I'm gonna put this last thing in there just for everyone. So again, most of you know I also work with organizations to create mentoring programs to help individuals move up those leadership ranks, as well as ensuring that you have diversity within your leadership ranks. And I was working with a couple, a pair the other day, a mentee and a mentor, and it was funny because the mentee was going through a very, very rough time, and I could sense it. And so they were sharing everything with that mentor. And I kind of took the mentor off to the side. We had a break, and I was like, hey, you know, maybe you should share your story, because I
Mm,
had known that mentor had gone through some stuff. And so that mentor said, oh, well, came back and was like, hey, I hear you. I see you. And, this is what I went through when I was in this situation. And it was crazy because the mentee immediately, like, like not stood up, but like they were like, they literally said, I didn't realize you've gone through this kind of
mm,
challenge.
mm.
I thought it was just me. When I look at you, you look like everything is just going so well. And I thought I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important, Katie, as you talked about, is like with mentors and leaders, having the space and being intentional with sharing that, hey, my life wasn't perfect. I'm still human. I'm growing. I'm trying to get better myself. But I think it's almost that Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook, social media kind of where like everything's perfect. It is not perfect.
And that's why you're speaking so much about communication, and how to communicate better, and that's why this is a communication tool to yourself, to others, and that's how it can really um, do that. Because when you can get to know yourself and really understand that on all levels, then you can do exactly what you encourage that mentor to do, which was really beautiful, Alex. And great job, because again, the mentee got heard. People need
Mhm.
to feel heard. And
Yeah.
then when they get hurt, they feel heard, then all of a sudden the results or the situation or the environment's going to change. And yeah, we're not all perfect. Instagram does like to make it seem like everybody's just got it together. And someone's story is the most compelling thing that is one of the most valuable assets, is our own stories.
Yeah.
It is such an asset, and not our story like from all the accolades and praises. Our story also has to be about the hard times and the dark times. Knowing your story, knowing how that can all actually kind of be bottled up in your branding, from your image to everything that you do in your copy and your business and your operation, that has intention behind it. That sends a message out there. And then there's something that attracts people to that. And so, yeah. Yeah. Good job for telling that. I'm sure that mentee, like it, he probably really appreciated it.
Hey, Katie, look, preacher. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I wonder if I can get sued by McDonald's for saying I'm loving it. Well,
I
we'll
love
deal with
it.
that later.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Katie, I know you need to go jump off because you got to go, style for Usher or King or someone like that. But I want to open this space for you. Is there anything that you like to share with our audience as we begin to close up?
Yes, lots to share. You are worth this to bring your best self. So that's one note that I hear after working with someone for a long time is that they're like, I didn't feel worthy to go do this for myself. And you are worthy to go do it. It may take you kind of feeling like you got to make a jump and a leap of faith, but you are worth it. And it will definitely transform you far more than you ever realized. And so if you are interested in understanding specifically how it is that I work with this identity piece and what I did with Alex, you are more than welcome to reach me at katiewatford.com. You can email me directly and let me know that you heard you're a listener of Alex's, and my email is katie@katiewatford. My social media is connected there from my website. So, and then share with me everything that you like. Just email me and we'll chat for sure.
And I'm being 100% serious when I say this. I feel like literally everyone who listens to this show needs to do it.
Wow.
If not for your professional, for your personal, because again, it was a huge eye opener for me on, how I carry myself. I knew my brand from a speaking standpoint, from my books and how I speak and tell stories. I know my brand, but I was pretty clueless in regards to, my style and my attire. And Katie, you really did open a huge door for me and shine a huge light, and not only for me but for my wife as well, because now she's like, Alex, you'll look good in this, and I'm like, I'm super anxious, but I'm like, yeah, what will Katie say? Okay, what would Katie say? It's like WWKS. What would Katie say?
What would Katie say? I have to hashtag that. It was so great. She said, Katie, you opened up my eyes to so much. Just for the audience know, because Sue, his wife, was going to purchase all of his clothes. And so she was like, you opened my eyes so much to just seeing things in a different perspective. And it is a professional tool that we're creating, but it's more of a personal transformation for yourself.
Everyone, you know where I'm going. You know what I'm about to say. If you found anything of value in this conversation, don't keep it to yourself. Don't look back. Reach back. Bring other people to the table. Say, hey, look, you need to hear this conversation. You got to see this on YouTube. You got to listen to this on the podcast. Don't be that guy or that gal to keep information to yourself just because you may feel more powerful. Now, you are more powerful with this information, but let's share the power with everyone else. I just, again, want to thank you so much, Katie, for being here today. Thank you, the listener, the audience. I appreciate everything you do. And look, I'm looking forward to talking to you next time. As always, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Executive Appeal with Alex Trumbull. I invite you to follow The Executive Appeal wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me, your host, Alex Trumbull, across all socials or via email for exclusive webinars, courses, and in speaking engagements on continued topics of executive leadership. So, until next time, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving.